Caleb Reed forgave Lena Whitmore over candlelight, for a betrayal she never committed. Lena Whitmore sat across from Caleb Reed at Lakeshore Terrace, watching candlelight flicker against white linen. The restaurant hummed with quiet wealth, the kind of place where conversations stayed at a low murmur and waiters moved like shadows. Caleb had already ordered her wine, the Pinot Grigio she'd stopped drinking 6 months ago because it gave her migraines. He hadn't noticed. Or maybe he had, and it simply didn't matter. This was their reconciliation dinner. Her mother had arranged it. Caleb had chosen the restaurant. Lena had never actually agreed to come, but somehow, here she was, wearing the navy dress Margaret Whitmore had dropped off that morning with a note that read, "Give him a chance to explain, sweetheart." Caleb reached across the table and took her hand. His grip was warm, confident, practiced. "I forgive you," he said. Lena laughed. Not politely. Not the nervous twitter she'd perfected over 3 years of making herself smaller. A real, startled laugh that burst out of her chest like something wild escaping. Heads turned at nearby tables. Caleb's jaw tightened, his smile freezing in place. "You forgive me?" Lena repeated, still smiling. The absurdity of it settled over her like a weight lifting. "For what exactly?" Caleb's thumb stroked the back of her hand, a gesture that once felt tender but now seemed controlling. "For overreacting. For making this harder than it needs to be." His voice dropped to that reasonable tone he used when he wanted to sound mature. "What happened with Vanessa was a mistake, Lena. I've apologized. I've been patient. But you need to meet me halfway here." Vanessa. That was her name. The woman whose texts filled Caleb's phone with casual intimacy, inside jokes about his boss, questions about whether he'd eaten lunch, goodnight messages sent at hours when Lena was already asleep beside him. Not an affair, exactly. Just a whole separate life he'd been living in the margins of theirs. "Meet you halfway," Lena said slowly. She pulled her hand back. "Caleb, I found 6 months of messages. 6 months of you telling someone else about your day, your problems, your life. 6 months of me shrinking myself down, canceling plans, apologizing for working late while I what?" Caleb interrupted, leaning forward. His voice stayed calm, but something sharp glinted in his eyes. "While I supported your career, dealt with your mood swings, waited for you to actually be present in this relationship." The words landed like slaps. Lena felt her throat tighten, that old instinct to apologize rising up. She'd spent 3 years learning to swallow her anger, to be understanding, to not make waves. 3 years of her mother's voice in her head. He's a good man, Lena. Stable. Reliable. Do you know how rare that is? But something had shifted. Maybe it was the wine she hadn't ordered. Maybe it was the way Caleb had said, "I forgive you," like he was doing her a favor. Maybe it was just that she'd finally run out of ways to make herself smaller. "I'm not doing this," Lena said, reaching for her purse. Caleb's hand shot out, gripping her wrist under the table. Not hard enough to hurt, but firm enough to stop her. His smile never wavered. "Don't make a scene," he whispered. "Not here. Not like this." Lena's heart hammered against her ribs. The restaurant continued its elegant hum around them, oblivious. She looked down at Caleb's hand on her wrist, then back up at his face. Still smiling. Still in control. That's when she noticed the man at the table 10 feet away watching them. He was alone, Asian, early 30s, wearing a charcoal suit that must have probably cost a fortune. His expression was careful, neutral, but his attention was absolute. Not the casual curiosity of someone people watching. Something more deliberate. Something that made Lena aware of how her hand was trembling, how Caleb's grip had tightened. She tried to stand anyway. Her fork clattered to the floor. The man rose smoothly from his table and crossed the distance between them in 4 measured steps. He didn't look at Caleb. His eyes stayed on Lena, dark and assessing. "Excuse me," he said, his accent carrying the faint polish of someone who'd learned English in international schools. "Are you all right?" Caleb's grip loosened slightly. He turned on the charm like flipping a switch, that easy smile that had convinced Lena's mother he was perfect. "We're fine, thanks. Just a private conversation." The stranger ignored him completely. He kept his focus on Lena, and something about that, about being seen, being addressed as if her answer actually mattered, made her chest ache. "If you want to leave," the man said quietly, "I can walk you out. If not, I'll return to my seat. Your choice." The silence stretched. Caleb's hand was still on her wrist, though his grip had gone loose with shock. The restaurant seemed to hold its breath. Lena looked at this stranger, this man who'd given her permission to choose, and felt something crack open inside her. She stood. Caleb's composure shattered. "Lena, sit down. You're embarrassing yourself. You're embarrassing us." "There is no us," Lena heard herself say. The words felt foreign in her mouth, too bold, too final. But also true. Truer than anything she'd said in months. There hasn't been for a long time. She walked toward the exit, her legs unsteady. The stranger fell into step beside her, maintaining a careful distance, not touching, not guiding, just present. Behind them, Caleb's voice rose, losing that careful control. "You're going to regret this, Lena. When you come crawling back, don't expect me to." The restaurant door closed, cutting him off. Outside, the April air hit Lena's face like cold water. Her hands were shaking. Her whole body was shaking. She realized she was still holding her purse, that she'd left her coat inside, that she had no idea what happened next. The stranger shrugged off his jacket and held it out. "You're cold." Lena stared at the offered jacket, then at him. "I don't even know you." "No," he agreed. "But you looked like you needed a reason to stand up. Sometimes that's easier when someone witnesses it." She took the jacket. It smelled like cedar and something clean, expensive. "Thank you. I'm Lena. Han Ji-yoon." He pulled out his phone. "I'm calling a car. Where can I take you?" "Home. I live in Riverside." "But you don't have to." "I know I don't have to." Ji-yoon's expression softened slightly. "But I'd like to make sure you get there safely. If that's all right." Lena nodded, too tired to argue, too wrung out to pretend she had this under control. A black car pulled up 3 minutes later, so promptly that she suspected Ji-yoon had people on standby. He opened the door for her, slid in on the opposite side, maintaining that careful distance. They rode in silence for several minutes. Lena watched the city lights blur past, trying to process what had just happened. She'd ended it. This time in public, with a witness, in a way that felt horribly final. "He was cheating on me," she said suddenly. "Emotionally, at least. Maybe physically too. I don't know. I found the messages 3 weeks ago." Ji-yoon didn't offer platitudes. He just listened. "My mother convinced me to give him another chance. She said I was being impulsive. That good men make mistakes. That I shouldn't throw away 3 years over one bad choice." Lena laughed, that same wild sound from the restaurant. "Except it wasn't one choice, was it? It was 6 months of choices. 6 months of him choosing someone else while I chose to ignore it." "Why did you ignore it?" Ji-yoon asked. Not judgmental. Genuinely curious. Lena turned to look at him properly for the first time. He had the kind of face that was hard to read, controlled but not cold. "Because leaving meant admitting I'd wasted 3 years. Because my mother raised me to believe stability was the same as love. Because," her voice cracked, "because I was afraid of being alone. And now I'm alone anyway. But at least I chose it." Ji-yoon's phone buzzed. He glanced at it, and Lena caught fragments of Korean across the screen before he silenced it. "Sorry. Work doesn't respect boundaries." "What do you do?" "Import-export. My father's company. I split my time between here and Incheon." He said it casually, but Lena caught the tension in his shoulders. "It's complicated." "Everything's complicated," Lena said. She pulled his jacket tighter. "Can I ask you something? Why did you step in back there?" Ji-yoon was quiet for a long moment. "I have a sister. 2 years younger. Last year, she was in a relationship with someone who made her feel like she was always the problem. Always apologizing. Always wrong." His jaw tightened. By the time she asked for help, she didn't recognize herself anymore. "What happened?" "We got her out." But it took longer than it should have because she was afraid of disappointing our parents. He met Lena's eyes. So when I see someone being made small, I don't walk past it anymore. The car pulled up to Lena's building, a modest complex in Riverside that suddenly felt safe and hers in a way it hadn't before. Ji-yoon didn't move to get out. "Thank you," Lena said. "For tonight. For the ride. For not making it weird." "It's not weird to help someone." Ji-yoon reached into his jacket pocket and produced a business card. Simple, expensive stock. A name, a number, nothing else. "If you need anything. Or if he bothers you. Only if you want to." Lena took the card. "I don't need rescuing." "I know. That's why I'm offering." She climbed out of the car, then turned back. "Ji-yoon? Your sister. Is she okay now?" He smiled, the first real expression she'd seen from him. "She's running a gallery in Seoul. Dating a musician our parents hate. She's never been happier." Lena watched the car pull away, then looked down at the business card in her hand. Inside her apartment, she made tea, changed into sweats, and sat on her couch in the dark, processing. Her phone buzzed with texts from Caleb. Apologies, then anger, then bargaining, then threats. She blocked his number. Then she called her mother. "Lena, how did it go? Did you two talk it through?" "I ended it. For real this time." Margaret Whitmore's sigh carried 3 decades of disappointment. "Oh honey, you're being dramatic. Every relationship has rough patches. Your father and I—" "Dad cheated on you for 2 years with his secretary," Lena interrupted. "You stayed because you thought you had to. Because divorce wasn't something people in your circle did. But I'm not you, Mom." Silence. Then, icily, "I raised you better than to throw away a good man over pride. He wasn't good to me. And that's not pride, Mom. That's self-respect." Lena hung up before Margaret could respond. Her hands were shaking again, but this time from adrenaline, not fear. She'd just burned 2 bridges in one night. Caleb and her mother. The 2 people whose opinions had shaped her choices for years. She felt terrified and free in equal measure. If you're enjoying this story, kindly take a moment to tell us where you are watching from. Don't forget to also hit that subscribe button. Trust me, you'll want to see where this goes. The next morning, Lena woke to 17 missed calls from her mother and an email from her boss at Northline Creative. Her director, Riley, had defected to a rival firm and taken 3 major clients with him. Lena was now lead on the Hartwell pitch, the biggest presentation of the quarter, with 5 days to prepare and no senior backup. She stared at her laptop screen, coffee going cold in her hand. This was either an opportunity or a setup for spectacular failure. Her phone rang. Tara Lopez, her best friend since college. "I heard about Riley," Tara said without preamble. "You okay?" "Define okay." "Scale of 1 to panic attack?" "Hovering at a 7. Lena rubbed her eyes. "I broke up with Caleb last night. For real this time. In public. My mom's not speaking to me. And now this." "Wait, back up. You actually left him." "There was this guy who—" "Never mind. I left." "Thank God." Tara's relief was palpable. "Lena, I've been waiting 2 years for you to wake up. Caleb was systematically destroying you. Everyone keeps saying that now. No one said it before. Would you have listened before?" Lena thought about that. "No. Probably not." "Exactly. So what's the plan? For the pitch, I mean." "Work my ass off and hope I don't faceplant in front of the entire board. That's my girl. You need anything, call me. And Lena? I'm proud of you." After Tara hung up, Lena opened the Hartwell files and started working. She worked through lunch, through dinner, through the sunset. Around 9 p.m., her building's buzzer rang. "Ms. Whitmore? Delivery for you." She wasn't expecting anything. But when she opened the door, a courier stood holding an insulated bag. Inside, Thai food from her favorite place, the one she'd mentioned to exactly one person. The note read, *, thought you might forget to eat. J*. Lena stared at the food, then at Ji-yoon's business card still sitting on her counter. She picked up her phone. Thank you. How did you know Thai was my comfort food? His response came 3 minutes later. Asterisk lucky guess. How are you holding up? Asterisk. Asterisk buried in work. Career might be imploding. Standard Tuesday. Asterisk. Asterisk want company? I'm a decent listener. No expectations. Asterisk. Lena hesitated. Every instinct told her to say no, to not let anyone in, to handle this alone. But those instincts had been trained by Caleb, by her mother, by 3 years of learning that needing people made you weak. Asterisk actually this. If you're free. Asterisk. Ji-yoon arrived 40 minutes later with coffee and his laptop. He didn't ask about the pitch, didn't offer advice she didn't request. He just sat at her kitchen table working on his own projects while she spread presentation boards across her living room floor. It was comfortable in a way that startled her, this quiet companionship that demanded nothing. Around midnight, Lena sat back, rubbing her neck. Can I ask you something personal? Sure. Why are you here? You don't know me. You have your own work. Why show up to watch a stranger organize marketing materials? Ji-yoon looked up from his laptop. Honestly? I don't know. Maybe because you didn't ask me to. Maybe because you seem like someone who's been taking care of everyone else for a long time. He paused. Maybe I just wanted to. That's not much of an answer. It's the only one I have. They held eye contact for a moment too long. Lena felt something shift in her chest, a possibility she wasn't ready to name. She looked away first. I should let you go. It's late. Ji-yoon packed up his things but paused at the door. The pitch. You're going to be great. Not because someone's helping you or validating you. Because you know this work. Trust that. After he left, Lena stood in her apartment, surrounded by presentation boards and empty tie containers, and realized she was smiling. The next morning, Lena arrived at Northline Creative at 7 a.m. to find Caleb waiting in the parking garage. Her stomach dropped. We need to talk, he said, blocking her path to the elevator. No, we don't. Move, please. You humiliated me, Lena. In front of half the city's business community. Do you understand what that does to my reputation? Your reputation? Lena felt that wild laugh building again. Caleb, you cheated on me for 6 months. You grabbed my wrist in a restaurant. You made me feel like I was losing my mind. But sure, your reputation is what matters here. His expression darkened. I gave you 3 years. I put up with your mood swings, your career obsession, your emotional distance. And this is how you repay me? By running off with some random guy? I didn't run off with anyone. And I don't owe you an explanation. Caleb stepped closer. Not touching, but violating her space. You think you're better than me now? You think leaving makes you strong? You're going to crash and burn without me, Lena. You're going to realize what you lost. I already know what I lost. Lena met his eyes. 3 years of my life I'll never get back. Now move. Or what? A car door opened behind them. Lena turned to see Ji-yoon emerging from a black sedan, the same one from the restaurant. His expression was calm, but 2 men in suits climbed out with him, and suddenly the parking garage felt very different. Caleb's bravado cracked. What is this? Ji-yoon addressed Lena, not Caleb. Everything all right? It's fine. He was just leaving. Actually, Ji-yoon said, turning to Caleb now, you're going to need to leave Ms. Whitmore alone. Permanently. I've already filed a harassment complaint with building security. If you contact her again, we'll pursue a restraining order. Are we clear? Caleb's face flushed red. You can't. Who the hell do you think you are? Someone with significantly better lawyers than you. Ji-yoon's voice stayed level, almost bored. This is your one warning. Use it wisely. The security presence shifted, subtle but unmistakable. Caleb looked between them, his control slipping, then turned and walked away, throwing a venomous look over his shoulder. Lena let out a breath she hadn't known she was holding. You didn't have to do that. I know. But he needed to understand there are consequences for his actions. Ji-yoon nodded to the security team, and they retreated to the car. Are you okay? I don't know. Maybe? That was terrifying and satisfying in equal measure. But fear and satisfaction can coexist. It means you're human. He checked his watch. You have a pitch to prepare for. Go be brilliant. 3 days later, Lena stood in front of the Hartwell board and delivered the presentation of her life. No safety net, no Riley to defer to, just her vision and her voice. When she finished, the room was silent for 3 excruciating seconds. Then the Hartwell CEO started clapping. They signed the contract that afternoon. Lena's boss pulled her aside, offered her Riley's position, a 20% raise, and actual support. For the first time in her career, Lena felt seen for her work, not her ability to smooth things over or make herself useful. She called Ji-yoon from the parking lot. "I got it. The pitch, the promotion, everything." "Of course you did." She could hear the smile in his voice. "Congratulations. I want to take you to dinner. To say thank you. For everything." "You don't owe me dinner, Lena." "I know. But I want to. Is that okay?" The pause. "Yeah. That's okay." They met at a small Korean restaurant Ji-yoon knew, nothing like Lakeshore Terrace. No white tablecloths, no performative elegance. Just good food and honest conversation. Ji-yoon told her about growing up between 2 countries, never quite fitting in either. About his father's expectations and his own quiet rebellion of choosing his own timeline. Lena told him about her mother's phone silence, for months now without contact. About the relief and grief of that loss. About learning to trust her own judgment again. "Do you regret it?" Ji-yoon asked. "Leaving him? Not even a little. But I regret how long I stayed. That's growth, not regret." Halfway through dinner, Ji-yoon's phone rang. He glanced at it, and his entire demeanor changed. "I need to take this." "Sorry." He stepped outside. Lena watched through the window as he paced, speaking rapid Korean into the phone. When he returned, his face was carefully blank. "Everything okay?" she asked. "My father had a stroke. I need to go back to Incheon. Tonight." "Oh my God. Ji-yoon, I'm so sorry." "He'll survive. He's too stubborn not to. But the company, my responsibilities there, it's complicated." He met her eyes. "I'm going to be gone for a while. Months, maybe longer. I don't know." Lena felt something sink in her chest. "I understand. I don't want this to sound like an excuse or an escape. But I can't promise you stability right now. I can't promise I'll be here when you need me. And that's not fair to you. Are you ending this? Before it even starts?" "I'm being honest about what I can offer. Which is not much." Lena reached across the table and took his hand, a mirror of that first dinner with Caleb but completely different. "I don't need you to save me, Ji-yoon. I don't need promises. I just need honesty. Can you give me that?" "Always." "Then that's enough. Go take care of your father. I'll be here." Ji-yoon left for Incheon the next morning. They texted when time zones aligned, video called when his schedule allowed. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't easy. But it was real in a way Lena had never experienced. For months past, Lena thrived at work, leading her team with a confidence that surprised her. She made peace with her mother over a stiff lunch where Margaret apologized badly but sincerely, admitting that fear had shaped her advice more than wisdom. They weren't close, not like before, but they were learning. Then one evening in August, Lena's buzzer rang. Ji-yoon stood in her doorway looking exhausted and real and there. "Hi. You're back. For now. Maybe permanently. It's complicated." He stepped inside, and suddenly her apartment felt smaller, charged. "My father is recovering. My brother is taking over more responsibilities. I told them I want to build something here, in Rivergate City. Something that's mine. That's good. That's really good." "Lena." He took her hands. "I need to tell you something, and I need you to really listen. What I'm offering isn't a fairy tale. I still have responsibilities in Incheon. I still have family obligations that will pull me away. I can't promise you easy or simple or stable." "Okay. I'm serious. There will be times when I'm not here. Times when my life is messy and complicated. Times when you might wish you'd chosen someone simpler. For now. Maybe permanently. It's complicated." He stepped inside, and suddenly her apartment felt smaller, charged. "My father is recovering. My brother is taking over more responsibilities. I told them I want to build something here, in Rivergate City. Something that's mine. That's good. That's really good. Lena. He took her hands. I need to tell you something, and I need you to really listen. What I'm offering isn't a fairy tale. I still have responsibilities in Incheon. I still have family obligations that will pull me away. I can't promise you easy or simple or stable. Okay. I'm serious. There will be times when I'm not here. Times when my life is messy and complicated. Times when you might wish you'd chosen someone simpler. Lena stepped closer. Jiyoon. I spent 3 years with someone who promised me stability and gave me nothing but lies. I'd rather have complicated and honest than simple and fake. You're sure? I'm terrified. But I'm sure. He kissed her then, soft and certain and patient. When they broke apart, he was smiling that rare smile she'd only seen a handful of times. I have something to ask you, Jiyoon said. But not today. When I do ask, I need you to know it's not about rescue or security or any of that. It's about partnership. About choosing each other with eyes open. When you ask what? You'll know when it happens. Is that okay? Lena laughed, that same wild sound that had started everything. That's the most frustrating thing anyone's ever said to me. But you deserve some mystery. 6 months later, on a random Tuesday, Jiyoon took Lena back to that small Korean restaurant. After dinner, he didn't get down on one knee. He stayed in his seat and laid out the truth. His life split between countries. The complications of his family. The uncertainty of building something new. All of it unvarnished. I'm not asking you to make me whole, he said. You're already whole. I'm asking if you want to build something together, knowing it won't be perfect or easy or what anyone else expects. Is this a proposal? Only if you want it to be. Lena thought about Caleb, about her mother, about 3 years of making herself smaller. She thought about that dinner at Lakeshore Terrace, about laughing in the face of forgiveness she didn't need. She thought about learning to choose truth over comfort. Yes, she said. To all of it. The mess, the complications, the partnership. Yes. Jiyoon pulled out a ring, simple and beautiful. I was hoping you'd say that. Later, walking through the city, Lena thought about what she'd tell her younger self, the one who'd been afraid of being alone. She'd tell her that being alone wasn't the worst thing that could happen. Losing yourself was. Shrinking yourself was. Accepting crumbs and calling it love was. She'd tell her that the right person doesn't make you smaller. They give you room to grow. She'd tell her that choosing yourself isn't selfish. It's survival. And she'd tell her that happy endings aren't about finding someone to complete you. They're about finding someone who sees you whole and chooses you anyway. Lena Whitmore chose truth over comfort. And in the end, she chose herself. Everything else was just details. If this story resonated with you, do me a favor. Hit that like button and drop a comment telling me about a time you chose yourself over comfort. And subscribe, because there are more stories like this coming. Stories about real people making hard choices and finding themselves on the other side. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.